Welcome. I am back with you. This time I'm going to talk about personal branding again. This is the fourth of the series of my module. In first three series I covered various aspects of personal brandings. In this module I will cover communication. Communication with the aim being that you understand communication, you can use communication at workplace, you can improve, you can use communication for improved relationships, and it will help you to improve your brand that is you. So do pay attention to next 20 minutes of this thing and see it again also to get to the advantages input which I'm providing. Communication is a very vast topic. It cannot be covered in 20 minutes, but still I'll try to give you insight into in 20 minutes about personal development and use of inputs in daily lives. Normally, communications we will face three kinds of scenario. One is family, where the daily chores are there. There's an interaction, communication between husband, wife, yourself, girlfriend, children. So that is one kind of communication. Second is uh, workplace communication. Workplace communication means where you go, you work with your juniors, you work with your seniors. There are various roles which you play, and for the various roles, you're expected to use various kinds of communication. After that, there's a communications uh, of in the business world where the memos, publicity material, conferences are held, and you are expected to be part of that uh, programs. So, business communication is both inside and outside organization. There is no very definite delineations, but that is the general uh, division which I want you to keep it in mind. Then they again face-to-face communication, electronic communication, then the marketing handout. These are the few of the ideas on that this thing again. So now let us talk about essentials of communication. Sending your message across, word message across to others clearly and unambiguous. The catchword again is clearly and unambiguously to the targeted person. If I am the targeted person, for me the communication will be slightly different. If the communication is more intelligent or a different kind of person, a different background, the message may be different. You convey your thoughts and ideas effectively. So it says that your thoughts must be structured. Communication breaks down when the message is not your own. If your message is not your own, you have not thought of it, you are likely to create distortion in the communications and is not likely to be very effective. So you need to plan the message well. And the communication is only successful when both sender, that is you, and receiver, the other person whom you are sending the communication to, understand the content, the same information without any distortion. That is the aim of the communication. Now, let us just talk about the communication process and the process involved in this. When we are conveying information, we are conveying ideas, we are conveying instructions, we are conveying praises, we are praising reprimands, reminders. So your communication must keep in mind the background or the desired effect which you want to have on the person. So now in a communication, you have a sender. A sender is the one who sends the message, and he should be able to identify the receiver. He want to be able to send a message as for the receiver's understanding, receiver's capability of understanding the message. If the receiver is not in a position to understand the message, maybe language, maybe quality of language, then, well, the message will not be complete. Then medium. If the medium is face to face, the message is different. You also include non-verbal communication. But if the message is electronic, then the composition is slightly different. And you must now realize that in this process there is distortion. Distortion means what you are saying, what the other person is understanding. Similarly, what I am trying to teach you today and what you understand is again a distortion. I have tried to keep in mind that I am dealing with people who are looking for the working tips on communication. They are not looking at the theory. So that is the thing. Now, there are various kinds of communications. We'll just touch upon briefly. First is the verbal communication. Verbal communication is face to face. Here, our words are combined with our gestures, facial expressions, and tone of the voice to give the complete effect of the communication face to face. Then, speaking on phone, communicating verbally on the phones is an excellent way to reach the people far away. Initially, it was phone. Now we are also started on to teleconferencing and various other method. Then video chat services. The video chat is because courtesy the internet that we can communicate verbally with everywhere and stay in touch with our clients, our nearer ones across the world. Next is writing a letter. So writing a letter, you must know the English, you must know the format, how you're going to write the address, how you're going to write the structure of the letter. That's important. Then comes is giving a lecture. When it's a verbal communication in a different context. When you are giving a lecture, you have to ensure to keep the attention of the audience. You have to keep ensure that there will be disturbance from the audience. There will be question answers, so that you have to keep in mind. Then it could be making an announcement. Announcement means you see announcement in the airports, you see announcements at the supermarkets, and these are the normal announcements which you hear. They are again very well structured information being passed to the users. Then it's a voicemail. Voicemail is sometimes used when you cannot get the desired person and you leave a message. Then what kind of message you leave? You have to think of that. Message has to be very, very clear. The next can be is non-verbal communication. This is depends upon your body language. I'm speaking, I'm my head is shaking, I'm looking into your eyes, and I'm uh, trying to convey you something. Sometimes I have to use my fist. Sometimes I have to use modulate my voice. Sometimes I have to make a gesture to drive home a point, and so those are really revealed our feelings also. Sometimes I have to smile. Sometimes I have to listen to you. Sometimes I have to provide you the feedback. They all fall part of the non-verbal communication. They can be very effectively used. Only thing careful about non-verbal communication is distraction. Unnecessary non-verbal communication is likely to lead to distraction and loss of message. Next come is listening. Most of the people think listening is not a form of communication. Listening is a very big part of communication. In fact, you cannot take listening for a granted. You have to pay special attention to it because you have to understand the message. You have to interpret the message. You have to analyze the message. And then you have to develop a course of action for that message. So do not undermine listening, whether you are as a sender or as a receiver. And after listening, you are also expected to provide a feedback in case required. So now we'll just talk about principles of listening. Mind you, they're very important. When you have to listen, you stop talking. Let the other person do the talking. Prepare yourself to listen. Put the speaker on ease. In case you are showing a distraction or showing a disinterest, the speaker is not likely to give you the correct message, and you are likely to also not receive it fully. Then empathize. When one speaker is, if I'm talking to you, try and understand what I'm saying. Try and be patient. Avoid personal prejudices. Personal prejudice means that, well, he's saying something, he may not be meaning it, trying to find fault on him. Then listen to his tone. Tone is extremely important in a verbal communication. Then listen to his ideas, not to his words. Words may be different, language could be different, but you have to go in deep into the ideas, what he's saying. Then you must see his non-verbal communication. Is it distracting you? Is it giving you the desired effect? Is he trying to emphasize certain that you have to keep that in mind? So listening is extremely important. Feedback. Your audience will provide you with the feedback, both verbal and non-verbal reactions on your communication message. Pay close attention to the feedback, as this is the only thing which gives you confidence that the message has been properly received. The message has been understood, and the desired course of action or the desired effect which you have is going to is there, and you have to have the opportunity to send the message second time in case there is a distortion and you want to correct the message. So that's very important. In communication, voice is extremely important. The moment he speaks, when I'm speaking, you have judged me. You have judged me whether I'm worth listening, I'm worth not listening. I must sound sincere and confident to you. I must learn to pronounce the words correctly. Incorrect pronunciation loses the effect. Then my tone of voice must be correct. It must be there, which gives you a feeling of receptivity. It does not give you a feeling of hostility. Then loudness. If you're sitting right across me, I don't need to shout at you. I don't need to raise my voice and talk to you. I can talk to you and convey the desired effect. Then avoid using slangs. Avoid using abusive language. They do not add to your message. They only tend to distract the other person. Now, we will go by some tips to improve the communication. First is clarity. Make objective clear what you want to say. Avoid complex words and phrases. Be concise. Keep it clear to the point. Be concrete. Be concrete means be specific, use facts and figures to support your message. Next come is being correct. Try to use the correct level of language. Be coherent. Coherent means you must be able to create a message sequentially. You cannot have the end message first and the last message in between somewhere else. So you have to be coherent and properly sequence the message. The next now we'll just touch upon business communication. Business communication is goal oriented. Is exchanging information in order to promote an organization goals, objective, aims, activities, as well as increase the profits within the company, outside the company, and even so improve the image as required. So it helps, business communication helps you to negotiate contracts and deliver presentation very successfully. Non-verbal and verbal forms of communication include written communication and tone of voice. They make very, very important aspects because outsider does not know you, and there are now various ways of the communicating in a business scenario. It could be email, or it could be telephone, it could be face to face, it could be conferences, it could be public speaking, it could be reports, it could be internet, it could be marketing handout. You would appreciate while the aim must be the same to convey the message, but each message would like to be conveyed in a different manner. To convey this, you will have to plan the message as per the desired requirements. Now, we will just touch a minute on what are the future trends in the communication. The first is embracing social media. Social media is a very now powerful messaging and communicating platform. So, as in case you want to progress in life, you must be able to use that for your organization's sake. You must be able to recognize the value of videos. If essential, you should be able to create the video. You should be able to adapt and use of video conferencing, convey the direct effect. Then you should also know how to control, how to coordinate the traditional tools like meetings or newsletters, for instance, with modern tools such as social media and other tools. So you have to be adept in that. In this short duration, I have tried to give you a reasonable exposure on the communication theory and the future trend. I hope my 20 minutes would create some amount of use for you. So now I end my fourth module of the personal branding. I will now take up a separate module.